before I start, some of this stuff I never said outside my house, and I've only done it because Henry, my husband's here, and he has given complete permission, to be completely honest. It's not like that, you lot. I don't know if I'm going to get through this without crying. Steve doesn't know if he's going to get through this without crying. He told me that if I cry, I just got to get on with it, so enjoy. Go on then, Ed, let's just do this. So, stigma. Stigma is when someone is given a mark of disgrace and shame. My first experience of stigma was with the lovely young gentleman on the next slide. He was my childhood best friend, Jonathan Thomas. John and I were best friends from play school through to university. As you can see, fetching wig. At 18, John committed suicide. We had no idea he was dealing with depression, and since discovered the reason we didn't know was he was ashamed to tell us because he was scared of what we would think and how we would treat him. To be treated differently by anyone as you've got a mental health issue is awful, and I can stand here and tell you that because I have it. My own personal mental health issues started when I was pregnant with my son Jack and never left. After I had Jack, there's going to be some really horrible pictures of me coming up, but after I had Jack, I was physically very ill. My gallbladder failed and I went down to 6 stone. I ended up having several surgeries with this. I started to sleep in the spare room and I was full of anxiety. All first-time mothers, though, are anxiety-ridden, so it's completely normal, isn't it? I then fell pregnant with our daughter Poppy several years later, not straight away. Every little thing would set me off. I'd really shout at Henry. Really horrible, horrible things. I became completely reclusive and stopped being able to communicate with other people. We had a completely awful time, and I'm sure that there were times when Henry completely justifiably should have walked away. All the things that affected me were completely doolal, is the God's honest truth. I can stand here and tell you that if you waved your hand over my sealed drink, I couldn't drink it, you were contaminated. What the hell were you trying to do to me? Were you trying to kill me? Completely stupid. But one night I had a breakdown. My mother-in-law was there, but it's completely irrelevant. And I ended up going to the doctors. My doctor was amazing. You hear awful things, but she basically saved us. She started off by listening and just listening. She never took what I said at face value, which was good because I lied. She would then meet Henry every other week, but then she would meet the most honest person in the world. She'd meet Jack, who was 3, and should play with him and ask how mummy was. Jack knows my brain doesn't work properly, but he knows I'm mummy and I love him. He is probably the most clued up 5-year-old boy on mental health. There he is. And I'm so proud of him, even if he does go into the chemist and ask them for my crazy lady pills and questions my brain function when he doesn't get chocolate. So I then gave birth to a little girl called Poppy, who's coming up now, and I think she's a little bit adorable. I spiraled again because I wanted to be medical free because I had been very sick during pregnancy, but that was a really silly idea for me. I remember lying in bed holding Poppy and Jack, knowing I loved them with every fibre of my being, but just feeling hollow. At this point, I went back to the doctors. The next slide is a picture Jack drew that I can't actually look at. It's when my brain works and when it doesn't. And I've written something about how it feels to have an episode. When it's bad, it's black. The black is all-encompassing. I have shortness of breath. My chest is tight. The shakes are involuntary. I have no control over the physical manifestations of my mental illness. I overthink. That's the worst thing. You can't stop the thought, and even though you know it's ridiculous, you can't stop it. Why is this happening? Why am I shaking? Why do I feel breathless? My mind is going nuts, my insides feel hollow, and the blackness is just pressing on my head. But after all this morbidness, it isn't all morbid. I am okay. In 2008, I got to use one of the worst experiences of my life, which was losing John, by going to Bridgend and working with the young children that were dealing with the suicides of their friends at the time. I also work with the National Centre of Mental Health, and Lee is over there, and I only just warned him that I was going to make him wave. They do research into mental health. If you have 5 minutes, please grab him, because mental health research is 40 years behind that of, cancer and heart disease. They've given me amazing opportunities, mainly because I'll talk to anyone. They sent me to London to speak to the ex-Deputy Prime Minister, who was really short. They sent me to the Welsh Lib Dem conference. I've done some films for them, but I'm now losing peace. These 3 celebrities have all come out in the last 3 months and spoken about their mental health issues. They have all said they were told to keep quiet, but they don't want to anymore. They want to raise awareness and mental awareness to be taught at schools. We don't treat mental and physical illnesses the same, and that's the problem, because we're not taught about it. I'm not my illness. I'm just Laura. So my challenge to you to end, and I promise Steve I'm going to get off this stage, is to you to talk. Mean it when you ask someone how they are. Give them the opportunity to respond honestly. It's not an exaggeration when I say you can save someone's life, because to my deepest core, I wish one person had pulled over and spoken to John that day, and I wish to a point it had been me. Thank you.